Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the XWF podcast with your host, Chronic Chris Page, them no good bastards, Thunder Knuckles, Bobby Bourbon, and yes, if available, Bearded War Pig. And the action starts now.
XWF Universe, one more time, one more podcast. We have definitely shifted some landscapes with March Madness. So welcome to another edition of the XWF podcast. Chris Page here, joining me today, as always, and new XWF World Tag Team Champions, them no good bastards, Bobby Bourbon, Thunder Knuckles. Guys, let me be the first to, obviously not the first, but let me congratulate you once again on a huge win at March Madness. Bobby, man, what are you thinking about that, brother?
That was a huge win. It was nice to finally get a win over Corey. He's been a phenomenal rival. We've had a rivalry for pretty much the past year and a half. Currently, I am feeling a little bit pushed. The last 24 hours, I've been very occupied. As someone know, I went out and I went and met up with TK, IRL, and it was a pleasant drive out there. The ride home, I actually got caught in a whiteout. Like it started snowing like nuts on the highway, and it was kind of a hectic ride back. I've had a lot of errands to run today. I'm still running errands, but I'm glad to be here on the show, and I'm glad to be here talking with all our guests and going over the Fed. TK, how you feeling, bud?
Feeling pretty good. Robbie and myself had a lot of fun yesterday. Today we're going to cover March Madness. It's going to be crazy.
Sounds like you're still recovering a little bit there, TK.
A little bit.
I personally want to say some of my really good friends today that I've met in real life came from e-fetting. I think it's great that you guys got to link up and spend a little bit of time together. So when TK told me, he's like, hey, Bobby's coming to see me, I was fucking right, man. I'm glad that you made it back safely, Bobby. The whole round trip was probably 4 or 5 hours up and 4 or 5 hours back. That's a lengthy little run.
And again, the whiteout conditions on the highway on the way back, it was just like all of a sudden I'm in a blizzard and I can't read the signs. That was a little hectic, but otherwise, easy trip, great time. TK was a wonderful host. I had a good time. It wasn't like wham bam super like we didn't go ride roller coasters and bumper cars and then paint the town red. We were humble little writer nerds, and we enjoyed our time together. And I look forward to doing it again.
I think that's amazing, guys. We are definitely coming off of March Madness. This is going to be a huge show, guys. We've got a plethora of guests stopping by to hang out with us. Holy shit! The first one, the first one just got here, ladies and gentlemen. The co-host that you never hear, you are about to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on the XWF podcast, I give to you the bearded or Ned. Ned K, brother, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. It feels good to be on the real podcast. It's kind of surreal because I'm so used to hearing everybody, just recorded and not really being a part of the conversation. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm giddy.
When I was not privy to the fact that you guys were dropping the Shove It podcast, which great job. I think Doc was on that with you guys. That was funny shit. I listened to it, the 30-minute episode. Listened to it for work, and I laughed my ass off from almost beginning to end. I when I heard that, I sent TK a message, and I said, "You got to get him for our podcast because he could definitely slide into to the bearded war pig spot. But I'm glad to have you here, man. TK, Bobby, this is Ned's first show with us. It's not going to be an every episode occurrence, but I hope that it turns into that. But when times permit, Ned will be filling in the extra co-host chair, if you will. So TK, Bobby, meet Ned. Ned, meet TK and Bobby.
Hi, guys.
Welcome back, Ned. I'm glad you're aboard.
Yeah, we spoke.
I
We've spoke before.
No,
What? I
you
don't want to
didn't, because that was not an XWF podcast. So you have not spoken.
I suppose
Correct?
you're right. I suppose you're right.
Yeah, that's an alternate universe.
Yeah, that was entirely something else. Nobody expected it. It just came in through a wormhole, and now we're all here talking for real. I know for one that I was a little late to congratulating them no good dirty bastards, but uh, I'm really happy they got those titles. Beating Continuum is nothing to sneeze at, so it's going to be a lot of fun to talk with them and on and off air, just really hear what this champion-made tag team has to say on a few.
We'll definitely get into that. I have a lot to say about the tag team championship match and the tag division right now, as in general, and we're definitely going to get there. But before we do, the first guest that I'm going to bring in on the show this week, and this is a shoot. This guy, I can't say enough nice things about him because there's some out of character stuff that had this individual not stepped in, I would have left the Fed 2.5 years ago. There's no bullshit behind that. That's legitimate. And ever since then, uh, he'll be the first to tell you when he gets on here in a second that when he first got to dealing with me, thought I was a prick, and then I was just the biggest piece of shit on the face of the planet. And come to find out through trials and tribulations, I consider this guy one of my very good friends, and I don't use that term loosely. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the XWF podcast, my friend, Robert Main. Robert, welcome to the show, brother. Welcome back to the XWF after having to take a lengthy leave for personal reasons, man.
I appreciate it. And yes, when you did come into the Fed, I absolutely despised you.
I believe just about everybody did, which means I did my job correctly.
You got heel heat like no other. You really did.
Uh,
TK, Bobby, congratulations. Ned,
Thank you.
same to you.
Thank you.
Rob, I'm glad you're back, man. It's good to hear. I appreciate the congratulations. I've been getting it from a lot of people. I don't handle that kind of positive feedback well regularly, so I'll just say thanks. I'm glad everybody liked our writing, but Rob, I'm glad you're back, man. Big fan of your writing. I think I've said it before. I'll say it again. When we have Murderers Row here right now in the XWF, if somebody comes to the XWF looking for trouble, the biggest problem they might face is probably going to be Robert Main. You've been one of those standard bearers, but that's no slight against any of the other.
I appreciate those kind words.
I'll slot in here. I appreciate the congratulations too. For me, what's more rewarding is just the kind of angle that I've been able to tell, with Mr. Ariel, Edgar, the former Hart champion now. And that's kind of funny because one of the things I admire most about you and Paige here is your ability to tell this really interesting story that has culminated in this amazing March Madness like main event and the reveal. I am fanboying out a little, so I'll try to keep my thoughts kind of straight. But thank you so much.
Listen, let's cruise into why we're here. Again, let me go ahead and tell you, listeners, we've got several guests that are going to be coming in and out. Robert's here with us now. We've got a couple of other surprises lined up for you here in just a little bit. So don't be surprised if we get several run-ins. That being said, fucking March Madness, 18 matches, Elite Eight, plethora of championships on the line. It's emanating from Allegiant Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Your hometown, Rob.
My hometown.
Yeah. We had an amazing show. We're gonna jump into the meat and potatoes of it, I guess, right now, guys. Let's jump into it. This is what's brought us to the dance of March Madness. This is the 18 match pay per view, Elite Eight, the semifinals, and then the finals of the March Madness tournament. We have championships galore to talk about. We've got a really great main event that capped off the night. Let's start this thing off. We've got our pre-show. Um, before we even get to the pre-show, we're kicking things off. A little epic 10-bell salute to you, Mr. Main. How did you when you were scrolling through the show when you saw that? Did you click on it or did you bypass it?
I clicked on it and I said, "Them dicks."
Well, that was you can thank TK for that because he really he made that happen, man. TK, I appreciate you throwing that video in there. Tell me that we didn't have fun with that.
Oh, I definitely had fun with that. And I prefer bastard. I'll take bastard.
Fine. I'll call you guys bastards.
We've got our pre-show openers: Big Money Oswald, Solace Tatum. This was the Hell in an Electric Cell match. The steps were if Solace wins, she would get the $1 billion championship, and if Oswald won, then Solace would have to join the ranks of Bob. This is a rematch. We covered it a couple of weeks ago from an episode of Anarchy where Oswald picked up a big win. Count out, but a win's a win over Solus, and this match was really good for the pre-show to start things off. But in the end, Solus uh, takes down Big Money Oswald here, gets that win back, and uh, is now off to greener pastures, if you will. So, TK, this is one of those. We open up the show with Bob's own Money Oswald, and we do not get the win. What are your thoughts on it, man?
Well, I mean, they both did a really good job going into this match. The match itself, a lot of good back and forth, and Solace leaving the belt out there. That was nice. Basically said keep it. I think she did just say keep it.
Yeah, it wasn't about the belt to her. I think it was more about proving the point.
Mm-hmm.
Ed?
So, for a pre-show match, especially for this stacked of a card, I thought this just set the pace very well. I love what Solace has been doing with her character, and obviously, Big Money Oswald is nothing to scoff at, especially considering he got the win over a couple weeks ago. Um, I I really enjoyed it. I like the fact that we get that character moment. Keep the belt. I don't want it, and it really hyped at least me personally up for the rest of the show to come. It was nice, quick, uh, but still pretty frantic.
Rob, man, pre-show match. We don't get many of those in the XWF, but we've got two here. But what was your take on that?
Oh, I read the role plays. They both did a great job. As far as the match, it was pretty well written. I agree with Ned. I believe this match really set the pace for the pay per view. I mean, being a pre-show and you got an electrified Hell in the Cell match, it's a good match. And for Solace to leave the title out there, I really believe that's something that she can build into a story later down the line. I don't need your title, sort of deal. And anytime Bob loses, I think that's great.
Heck. Um, the next pre-show match was is the mainer event of the pre-show. I would reckon to say Sarah Lackland's going to get the win here. I don't think that's any surprise. The pay per view itself is sorry, that's still a pre-show. We've got a Betsy Granger promo stuck in here in the middle of our pre-show, and we're going to circle back around to that in just a little bit. Got a Terry Borden segment here. Ultimately, I think the tall and skinny of that is Borden's been taken out of the Battle Royal. Pay-per-view starts with, I mean, the opening pre-show match was good. It was definitely a way to start the show. As far as the quote the dark matches, you know what I'm saying. Now we start the actual pay-per-view, and what better way to start off than with the second chance Battle Royal? Lots going on here. Lots to kind of talk about uh, amongst everyone here who competed in the March Madness tournament, plus some new people that came in after the tournament. Uh, Coming in, I mean, we'll get down to the final threes. Ned, Andre Dixon, Demos. This was. I really thought that all three of these guys kind of brought their shit. I would be lying if I said I thought that maybe this one should have went another way. That's no disrespect to Demos for the win. Everyone just has different preferences. I personally felt like it should have went elsewhere, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, Demos is the winner. Ned, you were involved in the tournament all the way up until the last Savage before the show, and even coming in now, you come in and you take part in the battle royal. Talk to me about you kind of had a really good rise here since the tail end of last year. I said it several times on the podcast. It feels like you're really coming into your own, and you've had a really good start to the first of the year here. Now you make it to the final three of the second chance battle royal as far as within the March Madness tournament. But you had a very tough opponent in the second round with Sean Worstein, and now you roll into 12 or 13 people. What's your thought process, and what was your mentality of how are you balancing this plus your Heart Championship match later on in the evening?
Well, to pull back the curtain a little bit, I Edgar and I kind of talked about the hard match in advance, and we both knew that we had a lot of work cut out for ourselves. And I want to give a shout out to Edgar because he actually wrote quite a few matches on the show, and he put a lot of work into it. And of course, I was working on my own special project, and for the Battle Royal, which took up a lot of time. And one of the things I think is important to keep in mind when we're talking about a battle royal like this is I don't think you should get caught up talking about every single entrant, every single opponent. What's going to get you is focusing on a key group of opponents and then telling a really good story. And that's what I shot to do with my absolutely dipshitted idea to make a video game. And thankfully, I was able to get it out. It was considerably later than I would have preferred. But let's talk about Dixon and Deimos real quick as far as they come to this match, because they did bring a ton of fire. Andre was just killing it out there, and I do think Deimos really earned that victory. I think he had a very good last RP, and he really just knew how to take those hits as far as trash talk. And I wasn't certain who was going to win, but I had a pretty good feeling it would be Dixon or Deimos. So I wasn't too shocked either way.
I think that was the general consensus amongst all of us. Our top three were Demos, Ned, and Andre, um, which you know it was great. The writing was really solid. It was really close, in my opinion. It was super close between Demos and Dixon, and you were definitely not far behind from my perception.
Well, thank you. Um, I do want to address one thing that happened in the battle royal just before we move on or get into a more elaborate discussion about it. But the Freddie Prince Jr. and Dean Rose rivalry strikes up again. Uh,
When they were talking about doing the battle royal, the second chance battle royal, I found out who was writing the match, and I sent them a message. I said, "For you have to do a Freddie Prince run in. If you don't do a Freddie Prince run in, then you're fired. You have to just happen." And sure shit, he did. And when I saw the picture, if I was drinking something at the time, it would have came out my nose. Big shout out to Big D for writing that battle royal, man. Those son of a bitches can be a challenge. Um, I think that it did a really good job for everyone who was in the mix and uh, role playing and even in defeat, making people look really good. Rob, man, talk to me about the second chance battle royal.
So, to piggyback off what Ned said, anytime you're in a battle royal, you got a sticky situation. If you try to attack everybody at once, you're going to run out of word cap space, right? Secondly, the other issue is if you address everybody as they or you guys, it doesn't go over very well. It doesn't sound good. You got to make it personal between your opponents. So, like Ned, I agree with Ned. You've got to find the select few that's going to pose the most issues towards your character and go after them. Andre Dixon and Demos, I've been reading their work. They're tearing it up. Andre Dixon, huge shout out. Brother, keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna get over soon, and you're gonna be a champion soon. Demos, your work speaks for itself. I mean, you can go all the way back to what you did with Sarah Lackland. I think this match, it went kind of how I expected. I figured it would either be Andre Dixon or Demos. And also, again, what Ned said, I really think Demos's last role play took him over the top and got him the win. He pulled it. It seemed like he might have been on the ropes going into that last role play, and when he pulled that last role play out, I mean, to me, that's what sealed the victory. It was a great match. Big D, shout out, good job.
TK, man.
I mean, what else can I say? You have two
Anything?
people tout, yeah, basically the same thing. So, back to you, Paige.
Moving into the match number 2, there will, and I repeat, there will be blood. Ash Quinn, Lacana, anything goes. Unfortunately, Ash did not get a role play up for this. Even though there was a no show, the match was still pretty well written. And no surprise in the outcome. Lacana's going over here. It kind of was what it was. I can't give it a whole lot of time on my end because there was one piece of the equation didn't show up. But at the end of the day, though, Lacana needed a win. She got a win. It was a pay-per-view over someone who formerly was in the left hand. I think that Lacana personally is really starting to come into her own a little bit. We'll see what happens. TK, man, let me go to you first since I went to you last the first time.
I'm just glad there was blood. These women bled for us. Well, one of them, the one that didn't bleed, made the one that should have bled. And that's a bloody
chilling a riddle?
affair. It's a bloody affair. I'm happy for
Right.
Lycana. And the match writer, whoever did this match, great job. It really, I think it got Lycana over a bit. And yeah.
Robert Main.
It's always hard to role play when somebody doesn't show up because your ambition isn't there. No, we don't know the reasons why there was a no show, but Lycana, she did good, and been following her kind of in the shadows. She does a lot of great work, and of course, she deserved the win here. I think there's good things for her wherever she decides to go. You know, eventually she'll be wearing gold, I believe.
I think that's a fair assumption.
Ned, I do too. I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it comes to Lacana. Ned.
It was kind of a shame because the left hand Ash Quinn storyline, has been going on for a bit, and you'd like to see a match like this have a little more weight to it. But I do think it's fair to go, okay, Lycana got the win, and she has been getting much better. She writes in just quantities that astound me, because I struggle to get 1,000 out here, 2,000, 30,000. Lycana is just putting out these 4,500 beasts, and that work and that dedication to storytelling and taking time with your word count, it pays off even in the matches that you unfortunately have to kind of ride solo. I do want to add one thing, and that's that I don't think TK was telling a riddle. I think it was a tongue twister. I believe it was, how much blood would a bleeding woman bleed if the bleeding woman had bled blood?
I don't even know how you just said that.
I barely pulled it off, quite frankly.
That's because he's the nefarious one.
My
Bad
schemes.
guy.
So at the end of the day, wrapping it up, Laconic, big win. Getting that W over Ash Quinn, which will take us to the first match of the Elite Eight. But guys, before we hop into that one head first, I'd like to take a minute to welcome in another special guest for the podcast this evening. This individual I go way back with. I call her my wife. She calls me her husband. I give you the shooting star champion, very, very dear friend of mine, Miss Betsy Granger. Betsy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, boys. It's about time.
I know. I'm glad that you're in the mix. Let me kind of throw it around to everybody real quick. Betsy, TK is with you. You've got Ned K with us, and we've got Robert Main. So, crew, Betsy crew.
And a hell of a lineup it is. Nice to meet you, boys.
You too,
Nice
Betsy.
to meet you.
So we've got this is it's an interesting little segue here. I definitely wanted to get Betsy in to talk about the rest of this tournament because Betsy, with all due not this isn't even with all due respect, you had the opportunity and as far as I'm concerned, did make history here by wrestling 4 times or what 3 times. You wrestled 3 times, right?
Yeah, it was only 3.
Okay, you did not make history. I'm sorry. I'll take that statement back. Impressively enough, though, 3 times. This is your first match. Let's talk about your tournament and how you got here. Walk us through how you prepared and how you've. I mean, since you've come back into the XWF, I don't ever think I've ever seen you write like this before. Um, it's like every role play is almost mesmerizing a little bit. So kudos for you for getting back into the game and not only getting back into the game, but fucking blowing it out of the water.
You. I do. I listen to the podcast week after week, and I just want to start before I get into my answer by thanking you guys because week after week I finish listening with a huge smile on my face, like they like me. They all really like me. So I love you guys.
We love you too. Sorry, hit that joint just right.
Get it on.
So let's get into it.
Yes,
You had a really good run. So talk us through this real quick, and then let's get to the first Elite Eight match of the card.
Yeah, so Betsy, just a little backstory on the character, was created completely at random to be a wrestling stan slash fangirl for another federation. And she just kind of evolved. Her interest obviously got her into the ring. And I was kind of stifled when I first tried to write with her, which was sometime back in 2017, I want to say. And I quit for a while. So when I started the relationship on Twitter with James Raven, I was like, wow, maybe I could give this character another go. And when I saw the creative outlets that are in the XWF right now, I said, wow, I could actually really let my nerdy, creative, weird side flex on this and see what we can do with it. So I just tossed her into the mix and, you know, it started with that debut Shooting Star match, which went way better than I expected it to. I did not expect to put up what I did, and I was proud of that work. And I just continued. I said, well, I set a bar for myself. So now I just have to keep going from there, which led to the tournament, which I kind of juggled with at first. I was like, am I ready for this? Do I want to enter? I don't know. Look at who's already in it. This is kind of intimidating. And it finally just got to the point where I said, fuck it. Whatever happens, happens. Let's do this. And hey, I made it to
And
the
you did.
semifinals. I made it to the semifinals. So you know what? I did. I'm proud of my work. I went into it knowing that I wanted to focus on the tournament. So I found a way, like, as I was trying to figure out how to put out 6 role plays, I'm like, how can I do this where I can weave everything together into one massive story to push everything I'm already doing forward? And I feel like I managed to do that while leave everybody wanting a little bit more.
Mission accomplished. But the answer to that question, what do? You talk to Robert, man. That's what you do. The guy can tell you a story and wrap so much around it. It's incredible. There's pieces of this equation. I'd say Robert's always been a great storyteller, um, and he's detrimental to how my story game has evolved over the last 12 or 13 months, 14 months or so. I think he's really shown me how to take and do certain things and do it a little bit differently. So I totally get that. Um, you had a hell of a run, and we're walking into match number 3. You and Osira, you talk to us. Talk to me about this. You're squaring up with a fellow Bobby, and
Indeed.
not only squaring up, you're knocking her down and advancing to the semifinals.
It was when the draw was made, my first thought was, well, at least it's not a Tara, because I didn't want the besties to be having to go at it quite yet. Then the draw went to Atara and Sean, and I was like, oh, fuck me sideways. This is gonna blow up.
TK, man, or sorry, Betsy, talk to me about the actual match itself and um.
I enjoyed it. I understand why she couldn't do more. Life happens, and it is what it is. And we're already planning a little something something for the future. So it's not over yet. But the match itself, I'm proud of how it went down. Whoever wrote it, thank you for that. Whoever wrote all my matches, I don't know if it was the same person or down the line, but all of you did a fantastic job. I mean, all the match writers did, of course, but yeah.
I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure if Ariel did this one. I know that he did several of the Elite Eight matches and on through the tournament. I did some stuff behind the scenes and helped out match writing wise. I think that might have been an RL match, but and if it was great and it was good. If it wasn't RL, I'm sorry, I don't know who wrote it. If it's not, and if it isn't him, you did a phenomenal job with it as well. Um, so you know, Bobby Bourbon, are you back in the mix, brother?
I am indeed. What's up, brother?
All right, just talking about Miss Betsy Granger's victory over Osira in the Elite Eight first match of the Elite Eight.
That was a big match. That was awesome, and it's kind of what I expected. Betsy is Betsy. Betsy's again, we got a stacked roster. She's every part of it.
Ed, let's go to you next. The first of the Elite Eight, Betsy Granger is the first making to the semifinals.
No disrespect to Osira as a character or Atara as a storyteller. I had zero doubts. Betsy is just a tour de force of narrative, and it's frustrating for somebody like me who I being kind of newer to the game as a whole and seeing somebody like reach that James Raven level, and it looking like so effortless for her. That's insane. I If it wasn't for Doc or maybe Sean, I really thought Betsy had a very good chance of winning the whole thing. It was truly kind of wild just to see her just continuously, how would you say it? Continuously kind of show up in dominant yet engaged action. So I was really happy to read what I could, during the RP cycle while I was, kind of busy with my own things.
Robert Main, talk to me about the Elite Eight first of the Elite Eight matches and Betsy Granger.
Okay. So if it wasn't for Doc, we're not going to say Sean. If it wasn't for Doc, I believe Betsy would have won. Anytime you got a Tara in the match or Osira, depending on, whoever's role playing, it's a legitimate threat. It really is. And on that, it sucks because you just don't know what you're going to get. It sucks. It happened the way it did. But the story that you told, Betsy, you kind of tell your stories like I do, and it's very nice to see that. Like I got one of the role plays up here now, and I just want to read a few words because it's pretty brilliantly wrote. And the sun causes the barrier to glimmer up ahead. Breathing is shallow, and her heart races. What I like what you're doing is you have a scene, you're describing it, and you're letting people feel Betsy's emotions. That is what you want to happen. You want people to be drawn in and read that and feel and envision what she's seeing, what she's doing. And a couple other things that you said in one of your role plays that I think is really it's not really trash talk per se. It's it's just well worded. I've yet to you said I've yet to actually benefit from your noble gestures. And I think I'm past the point of needing training wheels of that. And then consider March Madness my coming out party. People think they've seen the best of me. They haven't seen anything yet. and I agree with that.
Okay.
Betsy, you did a wonderful job. But could you run us through some of these segments that you have in the pay-per-view itself?
Yeah, I was going to actually go to that next. Good call.
You need all the plotting, all the little intrigues. Okay. So obviously, I think leading into the final segment for Betsy, I think it's obvious what's going on. The bulk of the segments, she's gathering forces. She's been watching everything. Um, I've been intentionally kind of light on my segments because a key part of Betsy's character is she observes. She likes to watch. She doesn't necessarily like to talk. That's why her promos are usually short. She'd rather watch the landscape and just see what she can do. Okay, this is a problem here, but I think these pieces over here can help me solve it. The segments are setting that up. Key players have been named as of March Madness. There are absolutely more to come. She's not done. And then obviously the final segment is clearly what it is. I kind of let Betsy let loose a little bit some of the anger she's been holding in.
You let that freak flag fly.
Yeah, even good girls go crazy sometimes.
I miss you.
I miss you too. God damn it, I need to move back to Florida.
And we would welcome you back with open arms. The the segment work was great. We see Orstein and Raven, and it's just, and if it's just a little piece of what's to come, I'm already liking it. And I'm liking the name values that are coming in. I hope they come back and do some stuff, even if they're like one-offs here and one-offs there. So I don't think it'll do anything but wonders for the Fed right now, especially with how deep we are talent-wise. And if Betsy's the trigger behind that, that's just great character development and is going to lead to a much more prominent role. I think it's very safe to say, I think everybody on this podcast can say that we feel that you're just it's not a matter of if, a matter of when you become Universal Champion. It's going to happen. You're telling some great stories, and your writing is. I'm going to get started. I'm going to do that.
Chris, I got to jump in here while we have Betsy on the line. I got something I want to ask. All right, just envision this. I arrive in a tuxedo. I'm driving a silver 1998 Ford Taurus, the kind that looks like a UFO. I take us to Olive Garden, never-ending breadsticks and salad, sparing no expense. We then go to a random high school and crash their prom. Chris doesn't want this to happen for some reason. I'm thinking it's strictly platonic. I'm really in it for the breadsticks and the Taurus. No offense. How does this sound?
Not happening.
Okay. The next question I have, and it's about your RPs, and somebody brought it up to me. I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Brain fart. I just got hard rejected, so I can't even remember the rest of the questioning.
Well, we're gonna move into match 4 because this train's done went off the rails, guys. Miss Fury, Silas Tatum, Elite Eight. This was one I think we were kind of all looking forward to as well. End of the day here, Fury is going to advance. TK Fury is well, I guess now officially, since the cat's out of the bag with the show, Fury's actually my girl, but Fury is your girl. So talk to us about this match.
The match was written really well. I don't know who wrote it. It's quite nice. A lot of good back and forth. Fury picking up the win over Solace here. Solace did just beat a Bobby at the beginning of the show. So, you know, Fury made that shit right, you know? And it's pretty much all I got.
Robert May.
So I've been following the evolution of Miss Fury for a while now, and I really, really like where the character's going. And the win here, I expected it fully. I really did. Miss Fury's been just burning things up lately, and I can't wait to see where the character goes. And hopefully that I get to work with her very soon as well.
Ed?
So some people define like moments. Other people define months or eras. And Miss Fury does exactly that. With the Bob storyline, so much has changed, so much has been done, and it has just evolved and transformed, and Miss Fury the character alongside with it. And I would be lying if I said, "Oh, can you all hear me?"
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry, I got a yellow on my end. Um, I would be lying if I said I had no inspiration for some of my current activity that didn't come from Bob. You know, the the push for more tag teams, I feel, is related to Bob in some ways. The push for um, more stables as a whole directly related to Bob. And Miss Fury has been a integral part of that. Nothing but mad respect. Love to see where the character's going. Absolutely deserve the win.
Betsy Granger.
Oh yes. This is actually one I was really looking forward to. Obviously, as the shooting star champion, I have to keep my eyes on all the women that have already established themselves, like Miss Fury, and then like the newcomer runaway train, like Miss Solace. Um, I kind of put my money on Miss Fury because, like I said, she is on fire right now, and she is actually one of the ones that I would love to tangle with somewhere down the line, because the dynamic between her and Betsy in a rivalry just really, really speaks to me, and is something I would love to explore with her eventually.
One would call it explosive, wouldn't they, Betsy?
Oh, just say just might.
I think there's a huge opportunity there down the line. Once you get there, and it's going to be very, very interesting for sure. Um, Next we had on the
Yeah,
show.
Chris, if I may chime in, I'm once again proving I am the least awesome member of the podcast crew. But the match itself, Fury came back and recouped the win for Bob against Solace in the night. And Betsy, to you, I'm going to circle back on this one. I'm changing up the scenario. I'm going to show up dressed as the man in the yellow hat from Curious George. I'm driving a Toyota Celica. And instead, we'll go to Outback, no appetizers.
I love this pitch.
Oh,
Bobby,
appetizers! What the fuck?
Okay, fine. We'll get an appetizer. We're splitting the check.
Hey, fair.
All right, cool.
Wow.
Bobby, I will do that
Babe,
with
I
you
want my
if we
steak.
ever meet IRL.
Wow.
You know I can't
Are you
say no
kidding me? I
to
have to go
food.
find that yellow hat. Anybody else ever
That
notice that Curious George was rescued by a pimp?
I'm just still in shock that my wife just agreed to a date with another man.
It's not.
My
It's a
that's my
friend
married
date.
husband.
It's a
Not
It's
friend
a
thing.
date date, dude.
Yeah,
It's a date,
strictly
man.
romantic.
Okay, no problem.
She's just
Places
hanging out
like
with one of the
Alabama.
boys. Sorry.
But you're
We're-
not splitting the check.
we're so far off the rails. Robbie's going on to going to prom.
moving moving into
Moving
the
on.
show.
We're
Holy
on to
Good
shit.
friend.
Julie Overton versus Dr. Louis DeVille.
We're not there yet, Bobby, but
Oh.
we're getting close. The next is good friend of the show. JB had a nice segment in here, just laying some killer character development down. I like what he was doing here. Not a whole lot going on for real, but it was really good just to see him get out there and cutting a little promo. This is one that I was looking for, and what we were talking about earlier, a little glossed over earlier. Atara Themis versus Sean Warstein, Elite Eight. Betsy, let me go to you first because you probably got more insight with the character interactions between Mr. Warstein and Atara. So you already touched on how when the match was pulled, you were just like, "Oh shit!" So hit me up, chat me up, talk to me about this.
Well, anybody who knows the history of the characters knows
They-
that history has kind of repeated itself. Except if you've been following Sean's story in his role plays, it's obviously it was in a very different spot this time. So, being on the inside, obviously because of her ties to Legacy and watching how everything has unfolded and how everything has fallen out since. I wasn't sure how they were going to handle it going into it. Just watching it unfold, I was as surprised as anyone else. I just kind of figured it wasn't a group discussion, so whatever they were doing was between them. And then just watching how it played out through the tournament and then up until and now how it's been playing out on Twitter after. In character, Betsy's just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? This happened really quick. I don't know. Like, now I feel like mom and dad just got divorced and I don't know whose house to go to for dinner.
Stick with Noah. He's feeling pretty bad right now, I'm sure.
Noah is feeling. You know what? Betsy and Noah need to go have like a little siblings meal somewhere and commiserate. But yeah, that would make for an interesting little scenario. But we'll get into that's a different horse.
Bobby Bourbon.
Yes. Well, this match, it kind of went the way that I predicted. The work output by both competitors was good. I mean, I always like reading Atara. Mr. Warstein, he gets enough credit. I don't need to give him any credit. No. He wrote some good stuff, you know? He carried himself well in the you know, he's a solid writer. He's a solid role player. He knows what he's doing at the boards. The match itself kind of came down to what we expected. History repeated, just like Betsy said. And yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Nasty Ned K.
Oh, so firstly, I want to get this out here. If Betsy and Noah don't go to an Outback Steakhouse and not get an appetizer because of his divorced parents, I'm going to be very disappointed. But this match was this match was something very interesting to behold because, like has been said before by Betsy and Bobby, history did repeat itself. You know, we see this relationship have to face another hurt, quite possibly on an even greater stage, being March Madness and in this tournament that clearly matters so much to them both. And I enjoyed how the match was written. I also just like the two characters involved a lot. There's something to be said about Noah's dad and Atara having this, you know, in a lot of ways, March Madness was a night of emotions, a night of emotional climax where all of these little character-driven stories met their natural conclusion. And while I don't think I'd say this one is concluded, it did have a satisfying chapter and one that I'm really excited to see more of in the future.
Yeah.
Huh?
All right. I took Addy to win this one, and a little disappointed that didn't happen. Team Addy all the way. Team
Is that a
Addy.
spoil? Is that a possible spoiler on the pay-per-view predictions rankings?
Yeah. Little spoiler.
Ooh,
A little spoiler. The
I'm
match was
confident.
the match was well written. I enjoyed it. Most people would have said Sean would have won. I didn't take that route, and wah wah.
Nice.
And I'm gonna pass it on.
So we roll into the next Elite Eight with this is Bobby Kieran and Doc. Ed, you go ahead.
All right, give me one quick sec. This next match, Doc and Kieran. So, I don't mean to be like this. Kieran is a fun character. He's a good writer. I think a lot of people, I don't want to say write him off, but he's amongst tough competition. And when you're against Doc, the odds are most likely going to be against you. And Doc comes out there, in his classic entrance, just ready to kill, just hushed silence. And he comes out there and he brutalizes my boy Kieran. And it's a little sad, but we kind of all expect it, not because Overton's bad or anything. Just Doc is a monster. Maybe not specifically in character, maybe in character, but he is going to be able to do things to you easily in his role plays. I feel the matches really represented just that sense of impending doom that you get whenever this man walks into this ring. I enjoyed it for what it was. He does get bloodied in this match, if I remember correctly, and it was good. It was fun to see him get a little hurt out there, a little color, but Doc did move on, and it is kind of what we expected.
Okay.
Well, Kieran went up against Doc, and Doc does what Doc does. I did like at the end where Doc bloodied kneels down to Kieran and says, "That was a good go, old boy. Next time you must try harder." I really like that. I think that's something Doc would do, and really like that little bit at the end from the match writer.
It was a nice touch.
That was. I think that Kieran has nothing but upside, you know, but not everybody beats Doc, especially not on the first go round. I think that in this podcast there's people that can beat Doc. There's not necessarily people that will beat Doc, if that makes any sense whatsoever. He's good, not unbeatable, but he is good. So, and he flexed that, and he did well in this match.
Robert, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I had to take a piss. I'm sorry.
Thanks for sharing.
Hey, being honest.
Doc and Kieran. Doc's winning this match. What are you thinking?
Hey, anytime you're in a match with Doc, let's be honest, you're gonna have your hands full. Doc is he's Hall of Legends. There's nothing that Doc hasn't done. So to see Doc go over in this match, I mean, it's no surprise. Anytime you read Doc DeVille's work, you sit back and you kind of question what you're doing wrong. Because Doc, anytime that he role plays, it's well thought out. There's a great story. The way he words things, it's just amazing. Doc is Doc. So the way this went is totally expected. And for the end of the match, like I think TK was saying, go the way it did. I think that fit his character very well, and I really like to read it.
Betsy Granger.
Yeah, I admittedly felt bad for Kieran when the draw was made. Because I knew at some point, whether it was in the semifinals or the finals, I was going to be facing off with Doc. And while it was something I was looking forward to, I was terrified. So, as far as trying to keep up with the Doc goes, he already had his work cut out for him. And yeah, I think everybody just kind of knew. No offense to the other guy, but let's just call a spade here. We knew.
Well, Doc's obviously he was the odds-on favorite going in, so it's definitely not trying to discourage Kieran because I do like reading the work when he's here and he's role playing and he's doing some things. But again, not a big shock to see Doc advancing here. Next is we have Diesel taking on Centurion. I really liked this match. I this was another big D one, I believe. I think that he puts a lot of time and effort into this, and it's really well written. Centurion's going to win this one by pinfall. Nasty Ned, what are you thinking about this contest?
You know, there is a feeling to a big D match and to a match that he kind of gets his hands on that I think he can really add a lot of fun. And this match was exactly that. It was fun. It was enjoyable. Finger poke of doom. You had to have it. Diesel has been one of those characters I've really he's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. Maybe he's not. I laugh at all of those RPs. I enjoy them a lot. They're a lot of fun. But Centurion, I actually have a question for Betsy after this. But Centurion is he is a legend. Not just in name, not just in title, but in the way that he's able to just put out these works. And while he's by no means unbeatable, if he's showing up against you and he's got the time, he's going to show you why he has all of those accolades, why he is an XWF legend. And ultimately, he did. Cent always puts up great work in character. He's Ned's favorite wrestler. And, I love it. I love reading his stuff when I can. I didn't get to read too much this time, but it's Cent. Cent has a way with his words. But Betsy, I do want to ask you something. How do you feel about, I don't know, some of these more grounded characters being someone who writes a pretty grounded character yourself? How do you feel about that difference in between the more spectacular, your docs who delve a bit more into the supernatural, and then characters who try to tend more towards realism? How do you view and you feel about that?
I always believe that there needs to be a balance between realism and surrealism when you write. Um, Part of the reason I was always so on and off and e-fetting and all the time I've been doing it is because for a long time, there just seemed to be this insistence on keeping the role playing field strictly in the grounds of reality in wrestling. And even as a young writer back in the day, I always knew that wasn't really where my specialty was. And anybody who's seen me evolve, like Paige over here, will tell you that trash talk has not always been my strong suit, and I used to struggle to tell a story. So again, coming into present day XWF, where you're allowed to be as creative as you want, it's really refreshing to see this balance between these really reality based characters who look at the fantastical, like Betsy and Doc, and maybe even Alias on some level, and just kind of shake their heads like, like, what has happened here? While you have these fantastical characters looking at their normie friends like, come on, let's go do something weird and fun and crazy. And it just, when you mix all these characters together and you see how all these different personalities bounce off one another, it's something refreshing. And I personally, I love it so much, and I can't get enough of it.
Thank you.
Well,
Robert, did we get to you on that last match?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Did we get to you on that last one?
No. So anytime you got sent, like kind of like Ned said, you're gonna have your hands full. And Centurion, I mean, a lot of people I see in their role plays that Centurion is boring. Centurion is not boring. Centurion is a legend. He's been around forever. And for this match to play out the way it did, again, it has Big D's fingerprints on it, and it was really well written. And Centurion picks up the win here. I mean, I expected that to happen. Um, there's not enough good things I can say about Centurion.
I can echo that sentiment. I faced Centurion myself a couple of times. He's a phenomenally talented writer. I like reading his work. This match, basically, Centurion came forward and ended Diesel's carbon footprint and turned him into electric hybrid. That's the story of the match. He just withstood all the offense and came out ahead. And I think in the like role play wise, it was a bit of a toss up. I mean, it was a very close match. You can't take anything away from Diesel, but give all the credit to Centurion. He did his great work as usual. I know in character at some point, Bourbon might just say he's boring again, but I think I might come up with creative ways to skirt that now. But yeah, solid work, solid showing for both, and congratulations and kudos to Centurion. Thanks for coming around and playing. TK, you have any thoughts?
I do. I think this match was pretty close. The match itself was good. The spot where the what is that? Sting character drops from the ring and kidnaps Big Daddy Cool at the end. I like that spot. Looks like somebody's coming after Bob. Diesel was a member of Bob. So I like that touch.
Dun, dun.
Yeah.
Did we get to everybody? I'm sorry, I'm high as fuck, so I'm trying to make sure I got to everybody.
In regards to Centurion versus Diesel, speak now or forever hold your peace. Elsewise, we can move forward to the next match.
it was good. Carry on.
The television championship is on the line. Demos and Marv. This has got a little bit of a build behind it. Okay, the TV title is something that we no secret. You and I both held on to it, and in some form or fashion. So I'll throw it over to you to kick off what would be our first championship match and our first championship switch of the evening.
Yep. Marv walks away with this one in an I Quit match. Takes it down to 10 seconds. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's a good TV title match. Whoever wrote this, I applaud you. I had a lot of fun with it myself. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to kick it over to Ned, who's going to paint this beautifully and outstage everyone else.
Damn you, TK. Okay. So the thing about this television title match is I'm very lucky to have been, given a small piece, a part of this angle, just being able to be involved kind of at the side, as you would know from the warfare in which Edgar, Deimos, and Ned teamed against the left hand. And here you have Deimos facing the left hand again. Marf, who he's kind of been harassing. He wants to get Marf in that ring, and the 15 minutes begins. And you've just got this immediate amount of just aggression from Deimos. We know he's a hardcore wrestler in character, and he lives up to his name. And as the clock is ticking down, you just get this fun spot where, you have Marth lift up Deimos onto his shoulder, and just, oh god, I loved it. Whew, he keeps asking out, "Do you quit?" The ref does. Just this exciting, oh, what's gonna happen? Who's gonna get the upper edge? Because Marf obviously is sick of Deimos messing with the left hand. He wants him to pay, he wants him to suffer. And Deimos is interested in bringing that retribution to this dark faction, being the guardian angel, living up to it. Oh,
I love you for that.
oh, you're fine. And it
I
all
love you for that.
go- it all culminates in this final wonderful end, which, like many things great with Deimos, I am so lucky. I am so lucky to have been involved in a small way. As I edited together that stupid little clip. It's not dumb. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. The little clip at the end where Marf reaches down to an unconscious Deimos with the seconds left to go and asks, "Do you quit?" And Deimos, quote unquote, quits. And Marf is your new television champion. Oh, what a good match! What a good match!
It was a
Marf.
it was really good storytelling. That was a really good storytelling match. I agree. I completely agree with you, Ned. Yeah, this is why we brought Ned on the show. Ned's going to be our Mike today. He's going to be the professor of of all things XWF. I don't think you could word it any better than that, guys. I mean, that was beautiful. It was almost poetic. Uh, Betsy Granger.
How do you follow that?
You don't. I mean,
You
you
really
can't.
don't?
Like it
I,
was. I mean, but I want you to try.
Hey now, hey now, hey
I mean,
now.
I'll give
I'm
you
the
that,
one who signed Ned.
I mean, okay, so, obviously going into it, this was a toss up. I, having had, I had Marf in the first round of the tournament, and having got that draw, I was like, oh, damn. Like, this could, oh, I wasn't sure how that one was going to go, because when Marf turns it on, he turns it the fuck on, and, that's what we saw in the role plays going into this. And, it's sad. It's kind of sad to see the run of Demos come to an end, but I'm looking forward to seeing how Marf and the left hand react to this victory, because this is big for the stable. Um, Other than Jerry Vaden bringing in the Shooting Star title, I think this is the first time or the second time the left hand has had any kind of significant kind of title win within their ranks. So this is something they'll be able to use to push them forward. So I'm interested to see what they do with it.
Robert.
That's a good point. If Mr. Main, do you have anything to say about the match?
So character wise, Deimos was what, double booked that night?
Yes.
Okay. So story wise, he's got a workaround. You know, I was double booked. You know, anytime that you got a Deimos in a match, you're gonna have your work cut out for you. I mean, I've said it for Doc and Sent. Deimos is another one of those guys. It was a toss up going in. I was reading the role plays, and like Betsy said, you could tell Marf was next leveling his stuff. And I felt like Deimos had to really pull a rabbit out of the hat in his last role play to get over. And, you know, anytime there's thumbtacks in a match, hey, you got me. It was a well written match, and you know, there's not much more to say because Ned says it better than the rest of us.
Mr.
That's
Bourbon.
that's very true. As in terms of the match, wall to wall action within 15 minutes. That is probably the most action packed 15 minutes that you might ever get on a wrestling show. In terms of what happened on the boards, um, Marf was just laser calibrated, pinpointed towards winning that championship. Deimos, I think he might have been spread a little too thin. He was working hard at getting into back into the contention for the March Madness finals, and he was also working hard on the television title defense. And yeah, I mean, Demos is going to rebound from this no problem. But I think that's what got him is in the end is Demos kind of just he trapped Demos at the same time Marf was bringing it as best he could. So it is what it is. We got a new champion, and I look forward to seeing what both guys do in the future because Demos, as long as Demos is sticking around, Demos is going to be putting out some good material and entertaining all of us. And Marf is just getting better and better and better with every role play. I've RP'd against him firsthand. I know his work firsthand. He's good. So great match. Kudos to the match writer. Kudos to both guys involved. Yeah.
It was definitely one of the better TV title matches that I've seen in a while on the shows, written wise, match wise. Like you're absolutely 100% correct. It was like from beginning to end, it was balls to the wall, 9-0. Um, I think that this was a huge win for the left hand. Obviously, you know they're trying to make a name for themselves, so we'll see. You know, but we all know it's easy. It's easy to win a championship. It's harder to keep it, right?
Correct.
Very true.
Moving into our next match, we'll start out with you, Betsy, because you're pulling some duty here, defending the Shooting Star Championship against one Jenny Mist.
Hashtag Miss March Madness's work is never done. Yeah, as actually, and I mentioned earlier that I gave out kudos to the people who wrote my matches, and it just occurred to me that Jenny actually wrote our match, and she's written several of my matches, and I just want to give the handler a massive shout out because she has never failed to deliver. Uh, uh, Betsy always, always looks good, and that's always, that's been an issue in the past with people who've written my matches, and I'm sure everybody here has faced that issue as well. The match itself had so much going into it, and it was just really fun to finally get Jenny and Betsy one on one to just let all that shit come out. Because it's been festering literally from Betsy's day one and leading into this match. And Betsy had so much at stake at, going into it that night as it was. And, everybody's wondering where's her focus? Is she going to be able to pull this off? Is she going to leave with her title? So it was a tough cycle all around. Because Jenny Mist is she's no opponent to blink at, and she brought it. I was really gripped by the pieces. I was really impressed, and I'm happy I won, but it really could have gone either way. So I feel like the story's not over, but it's probably on hold for now. But we'll see, because you never know with that little minxie mist.
Mr. Bourbon.
As a juxtaposition to the last match, with Demos, I think the work that Betsy puts out is phenomenal. And in this match, Betsy definitely should have come out ahead. Not to debate winners ever. But the match itself was great to read. I enjoyed reading it. I enjoy reading a good ladder match. But in terms of what came out on the boards, I think, and this is no slight against Betsy, I'm not saying you half-assed anything, but if your focus was towards just one goal, the March Madness tournament might have wound up a little bit different. But you did a great job here in defending the title. You did a great job in the tournament as well. I enjoyed the match.
Robert Maine.
So again, we got somebody double booked, right? And in character, like Robbie just said, what's more important? Keep your title or win March Madness? And you there's several avenues you can take, Betsy, story wise. Why you did this, why you did that. All the work was phenomenal. I gotta give it to Jenny Mist about immersing herself in the shooting star division. She has been there since day one, trying to get it over, doing segments. But in the end, the match was well written. I love a good ladder match. Congratulations, Betsy. I think you won this match. Yeah.
Okay, got anything to add to that?
The role plays going into this from both people were fantastic. Not just on Betsy's end. Jenny did put out some good work too. The match itself was well written. I think it did both justice for what they put out. Betsy retaining. Can't argue it. Betsy's one of the better writers we have here. So, congratulations to you, Betsy. I hope you got the outcome in this match that you wanted.
Professor Ned K.
Well, one thing I do feel I should touch on, that Betsy actually began to at a level, or I would say explore it a bit, um, was that these women had history. And much like Robert was saying, Jenny has put a lot of work into helping that shooting star scene entirely. And I feel it was very much a planted the flag, and Betsy picked it up and is running with it. And to give a compliment to staff, to the booker of this match, I think a ladder match was perfect for this story, for this rivalry. To have the star hanging above them in the balance, I think I think the match was very well written. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and again, it was another case where the emotions of two competitors really came through. The story being told, and I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed both of their work from what I had read prior to it, which wasn't a whole lot, but um, I I really did enjoy this match. I do feel Jenny put up a good performance, but Betsy's Betsy.
We cruise now. We hit our final four. First match of the semifinals. Sean Warstein, Miss Fury. TK, I always throw to you for Miss Fury matches first. So let's hear it.
Well, Miss Fury's going up against Noah's dad, and Noah's dad is Noah's dad. He produces, and he picks up the victory here. The match was solid. Uh, that's all I got.
Mr. Bourbon.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further. One of the Bobbies lost. Ooh. Mr. Warstein, Sean Warstein, Fuzz, for 3 bells. Sean Warstein, there's a fourth one. He came out ahead. I think that I like how the match was written. It was given, a nice tight feel. I like many of the matches in the tournament itself. You could tell that there's something on the line there, and that the competitors are in it for something. But yeah, Warstein walked away with it, feather in his cap. Betsy, what do you think?
Yeah, this match was phenomenal from start to finish. You never know how the draw is going to go, and seeing Miss Fury versus Worstein and seeing Legacy versus Bob was already exciting enough for me from an in character standpoint. Um, to see the way it went down, it could again. I say, when it comes to the final four in the tournament, the chips could have fallen any which way.
Right.
All of you guys did phenomenally, and everybody always kind of says Sean Worstein, but given the work Miss Fury has been putting out lately, you can't count her out, and she's only going to get better from here. I think she's going to take whatever momentum she's gained from the tournament and just use it and just throw that curveball and just keep coming at us with more and more and more, and I'm here for it.
The
And
professor. Go ahead, Bobby. Sorry.
I'm sorry, just to be certain, that is Sean Warstein.
I hate you so much.
Is it?
The professor, Ned.
I'm pushing up my glasses here. I gotta agree with Betsy here. I thought this match was absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. I went ahead and I gave it another brief read through, just to reacquaint myself for the podcast. My God, I do need to give a shout out to everybody who wrote matches for this, especially for the final four, because exhaustion begins to set in. You can tell that these are the same people who are having to wrestle multiple times this night, and it's weighing on them. It's getting to them. And I love that sense of realism and that sense of groundedness that really makes the show, go from great to something else. And as I was saying earlier, some people define moments, others define eras. We have two people who define eras in here, in my humble opinion. We have Sean Warstein, which there's your one ear's getting rocked. I'm not doing it again. And you have Miss Fury. And I agree with Betsy. Miss fucking brought it. But I fucking brought it too, back on Savage. And sometimes you just you don't get those several few inches that you need, although you already ran miles. And it's a shame in some ways, but what you do is you acknowledge the performance and you take some empowerment from that. Really proud of both of these competitors here. Love the match.
We're gonna go right into our next one. Betsy, we'll go to you first. It's you and Doc DeVille, semifinals. Your thoughts. Hey, when you saw the draw, what was your initial take?
As soon as I saw the draw, I was actually in the middle of work, in the break room, and I saw the draw, and I was like, "Fuck! I came so close." And then, but on the real, I mean, you know, whoever went up against Doc was probably going to have the same result. So I just kind of take that in stride because Doc is Doc, and you know, congratulations to him, you know, the king of the XWF. But don't forget, buddy. Hashtag Miss March Madness is still got eyes on you. As far as the match goes, I felt like whoever wrote it, thank you, because it honestly felt like I was reading the finals. The feel between the two of them going into it and just the weird vibes that started the match off that led into just how it be, you know, organically wrote itself was just everything I could have ever wanted. And I'm really hoping something springs from that because Doc and the Doc and Betsy dynamic is obviously another one that absolutely must be explored down the line. So yeah, I'm really hoping something comes from this, but you know, it could have got, you know, and who was it? Bobby, I think you said this. If I had put a little more focus on the tournament, maybe I could have pulled it off.
I, I,
And my focus,
I, I, I
and I
distinctly
didn't.
mean that in character,
Oh,
like
I know that.
specifically in character. Just to take off
Oh,
of what you're saying. Um, and I'm sorry to jump in, but then again, not because I'm a
oh no, you're
douchebag.
fine.
Um, uh, I think this match, what it reads like, is a rematch needs to happen because the story that I got from this match is that Doc was just putting Betsy out of her misery after going through hell in a ladder match and having that opening match in the Elite Eight. So this leaves the door wide open for Betsy Doc too. And I think both of you guys, in character and out of character, like out of character, you both have gas to work with to tell even more story about what happens between Betsy and Doc. And that's what I'm taking away mostly from this match. Um, Again, kind of, I had you guys pick to go to the finals, and I agree. It did read like the finals. It was big time match, big money match, but it just read like Doc was being that chopping block to somebody who really busted their ass in defending the shooting star title. So that's
Okay.
what I think about the match.
Oh, Thunder Knuckles.
All right. Betsy, man, I'm so sorry that you got Doc. So sorry. The match, like they've touched on, felt like the finals. You know what I mean? Uh, I really can't say anything more about that. The match writer did a wonderful job. Uh, Kudos to them, and kudos to Doc for picking up not an easy victory over Betsy. Um, that's pretty much it.
Ned, Professor Ned.
So the name of the game from this match and all of the March Madness matches on is big match feel. Like has been said, it felt like a finals. It felt like a conclusion, not only to this exciting tournament, but to this entire night in a way. And I would even go as far to argue that in some ways it is a conclusion of that first half of March. Uh, I really enjoy the match, and I interpret it very much as Betsy, obviously having gone through hell, this entire night, now has to fight the embodiment of it. Now has to fight a predator who is more well rested than her, but she doesn't give up. She does everything she can, and it's just not enough. And I don't think Betsy should have any sort of like, I get it. You get a little frustrated. You know, you want to win. We all want to win at some level typically. But I don't think there's anything to get frustrated about this. I think she looked amazing. I want Doc Granger to as soon as possible. Not only because of this match, shout outs to the match writer, but because of these characters and what they can do facing each other direct one-on-one.
We roll into the Internet Championship match, number 12 on the card, guys. Dean Rose, champion, defending against Boris. I think we all kind of knew who the king of the internet, and all know the king of the internet right now in the XWFS, and that's goddamn Dean Rose. So I'm gonna go a little different because I've been coming to Professor Ned last because he just trashes us on the reviews of the matches themselves. But with this instance, I want to go to you first, Ned, just because this is Dean Rose and he's hands down the probably the best internet champion that we've ever had, at least since I've been here since 2019.
I think he's definitely up there. I'll try and do this match justice because I really do like it. So Dean Rose and Boris come in there as two different men. You know, Boris is a fun character. I love Boris. I really do love Boris and his aesthetic and his role plays. He's just a ton of fun. Dean Rose walks in there, the champion, however, after debuting against Centurion, after winning the title against, I believe it was Barney Green.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of know what's going to happen because Dean just rules Twitter. He knows how to play that Twitter game. It's in his bloodstream. So he goes out there. He's, coming out with the offense. He knows what he's doing, and beautifully it culminates, with this back and forth. Who's going to get the pin? Until, of course, Freddie Prinze Jr. does not have enough. He has not had enough, and he even brings Sarah Michelle Gellar out there with him. They both try to interfere with the match. I believe FPJ hits Dean Rose with the chair shot, but Dean Rose has outmatched FPJ in all qualities, be it Twitter game, wrestler. We'll get to it. And he takes it, he slaps fucking Freddy into the face, just punches him in the mouth. And then he goes for the pin. He hits him with a hangman finisher, goes for the pin, my bad. And he retains. And he impresses Sarah Michelle Gellar by his victory so much that he even gets a kiss from the woman after the match. This was a lot of fun to read.
It was, and kudos to the match writer on this. Betsy Granger, let's get your thoughts on Dean Rose and this Freddie Prinze saga.
Just from the moment this character just spawned from seemingly thin air on Twitter, leading up to this match has been an absolute fucking treat. The things is, I don't know how he does it because I have tried on multiple accounts to get celebrities to acknowledge me and I don't exist, man. Um, Dean Rose, like, what can you possibly say that he wouldn't say about himself? In character, of course, but out of character, dude, you fucking rock. You're literally one of my favorite people. I just love what you're doing, and anytime you can bitch slap Freddie Prinze Jr. around on Twitter, please do it because I don't know if that shit will ever get old.
It is. It's legit funny shit. TK.
Well, there's not much more you can say about it. So what I'm going to do is this.
Oh, so we've had a dramatic pause and sent back to me. Bobby, are you back in the mix, brother?
Yeah. In terms of Dean Rose, I don't know, I haven't spoken to him out of character. I don't know if anybody has. I have every inkling to believe that there's a distinct possibility he is an actual pro wrestler and knows these people in real life and might be fucking with us. If that's the case, cool. But yeah, like even just that's like I don't know. That's the Occam's razor. Simplest explanation is that he already knew him, and they're having fun with us. Which, hey, that's cool.
So you're saying there's the possibility that Dean Rose and Freddie Prinze are trolling the internet wrestling.
I am floating the conspiracy theory out there that Dean Rose OOC is somehow actually affiliated with WWE as much as Freddie Prinze and John Cena are.
Wouldn't that be one fuck of a plot twist?
It would. It'd be cool. It'd be cool. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But
I never really thought about it from that perspective, Bobby. That's not bad.
It's the easiest explanation for how it happened and so sporadically. Besides, Rose just being that good at Twitter. And I can't gauge how good someone is at Twitter. So yeah, that's a theory, but there's no basis behind that theory.
Well, before we move on to the next match, let me ask you a question here. Do you own or rent your home?
Myself?
No, that was my Conrad. Yeah, sorry, nobody gets it. I don't, maybe it's just a me thing. We have a good friend of the show, John Black, taking on Ruby for the Anarchy Championship. Ruby, we all talked about this coming into this show. Of all the champions on the card, Ruby kind of had the roughest cycle leading into this particular pay per view, and needed to come out and showcase and show why she's the Anarchy champion. And at the end of the day, she's going to retain here. But JB put up one hell of a fight, in my opinion. Let's go to Betsy Granger first.
Yeah, girl power, baby. The reign of the females continues. Uh, Ruby does what Ruby does, and she didn't disappoint. I followed her a bit before I actually came back, so I was familiar coming into it with her, and I was a fan because I just thought it was so refreshing to see such a goody two shoes do gooder superhero just like mix it up with all these tough and rumble hardcore you got them no good bastards running around, and you've got people like Doc running around, and you've got people like Chronic Chris Page running around, and then all of a sudden here comes bouncy little Ruby in her bright yellow little superhero costume, and it's the most endearing shit ever. And every time she brings it for one of her title defenses, I just always get so pulled into her story, and I just love seeing how she evolves, and I want more Ruby, more Ruby.
I wish Ruby would. We were kicking the idea around a while back of if Ruby was to win the Universal Championship and take it to Anarchy and defend it under Anarchy rules.
She'd be damn near unbeatable.
Well, Bobby, let's go ahead and go to you on this. I mean, Ruby retaining. Your thought process on it.
I gotta agree with Betsy about a lot of the notes and tones that the character of Ruby hits. It's just she's that breath of fresh air. She's the Febreze that's making the XWF smell nice, if that makes any sense whatsoever. She's Yeah, I mean, beating Ruby at 1,000 words, it's not something I can do. TK?
Yeah, we really can't say enough about Ruby as Anarchy champion. She knows how to use 1,000 words well. You can't really can't fucks with the Ruby, and I know
But you
she's
know,
gonna hate that. Like in character with the fuck. Oh, another one. Oh,
but you know who can fuck with her on the 1,000 word, and that's gonna be Professor Ned. Okay,
That is true.
All
what are your
right.
thoughts, Mister K? Give it to
So
us.
let's first talk about Ruby's use of 1,000 words, because the 1,000 word max is interesting in many ways, because it really does show how efficient you are at tackling more complex narratives. And both the competitors here, friend of the podcast John Black, um, and Ruby, are fantastic at it. They know exactly how to hit these things. But there's a reason Ruby is champion. Um, to beat Ruby, you have to think like Ruby. That's how I beat her. Is only by studying and noticing what she does well, and then adapting to counter it by just taking an idea like that and pushing it further. If Ruby has a great idea, very few people here, very few people here are going to be able to beat it. I do want to say that one thing that keeps John Black always ready for the next day, for the next meal, is Omaha steaks. Uh, okay, I'm done with that dumb joke. But no, John Black is a lot of fun to read. I love seeing what he does with this character, and I believe this is JB's first loss since coming on the podcast. I might be wrong there. Um,
I think that's accurate. We might have to double check.
it happens, especially when you're going up against a Ruby. It's already tough, and while he had a lot of momentum and he's doing great, I have no doubt that he's going to get another title shot sooner than later. Um, there's a reason she's the queen of 1,000 words.
I mean, those are very notable points. And then again, that's why you're the professor now. Like we're halfway through a show, and I've nicknamed this guy 4 times, and I think Professor Ned K is going to stick around. Speaking of, I mean, our next match is actually it's for the Heart Championship, and as usual, this belt is very near to Mr. Bobby Bourbon. So let me kick it over to you first for this one, and Ned Cave taking on Ariel Edgar.
This match was a ton of fun for me to read because, setting up for it, we were on the fence. Is Ned going to turn heel? Is he heel? He sowed the seeds. And, RL was going to come out and he was going to come out swinging. I'm pretty sure I picked this one wrong. And that I picked RL, but Ned took it. And it goes to prove the old adage. One thing to say about Ned is yes, we cannot be paying him the rookie minimum for being on the podcast anymore. Two, you can't sleep on Ned K. And I think his performance, not just in this match and on the podcast, speak for themselves as well, just to attribute to that. The great match to read, a lot of fun, a lot of just chicanery, as Jim Ross would say, just to stick it to somebody who doesn't like Jim Ross. But yeah, I got to give it to Ned K on this one. Culminates, we find out it's Eobard's stone underneath the mask, and the reveal that Avalanche is there. Ned, why don't you guide us through your experience with this match? RPing for it, any segmenting that you did with it for the storyline's sake, because you were there, you were on the ground floor.
That's very true. Firstly, as I've done multiple times, shout out to RL Edgar. Originally, we were going to collab more on this match, and I was very burnt out that Saturday or Sunday that he was, I believe it was Sunday, that he was like, okay, I'm just doing all these matches, and he was like, hey, I'll get started. And by the time he had started, he just had so much, and I was like, hey, do you want me to finish it off because you're like halfway through? And he's like, no, I got it. And I'm like, okay, I'll just do the post match segment, thank you. But class act, RL Edgar, nothing but respect. So this storyline has been in the wings for a Chris Page amount of time. I have been doing little things here and there to try and build for it. And right after I lost the Hart title, Edgar actually came to me because he could tell, I didn't have a great RP cycle. It's no job. I just had a lot going on. And he went ahead and hit me up and he was like, hey, I've got this idea where maybe we could turn Ned heel. I was like, brother, if you want to go through with that, I've actually got a storyline entirely planned out. And the first thing that went to be a part of that was that weird recruitment post. This kind of shadowy stuff. Is the left hand recruiting? Is it this other demonic kind of thing? The Twitter account gets made. It starts posting all of this obscure, weird shit. And as we're building towards it, there's a weird blackout at the Boris match with, there's weird things that are happening to Ned, weird things that are happening to Edgar, these beatdowns and these scares from this strange group. And the reveal that it's Ned, it's Ned behind it all in a sense, was as shocking and surprising and hard to believe as I wanted it to be. And I would not have been able to do it without Edgar. Now, because we had agreed to do one RP because we were just doing so much work for the show, my focus on RPing for this match and telling this story with Ned was to show the fractured part of his mind. The fact that he is not well, and these two halves of him, this notorious half, the comfortable half, and the nefarious half, the strange one that he doesn't entirely understand, these worlds begin to collide. And at March Madness, that exactly happened. And despite a hard-fought match of Edgar, Ned just takes it by lying, cheating, and stealing his way through and establishing Avalanche. And then saying at the end, just wait till you see who else we have.
It's really good storytelling. I think I said it earlier. Like you've been on a roll since I wouldn't say November-ish, maybe as early as October of last year. I'm digging the character development, and I'm liking where we're going. Um, I do think that with the heel turn now, I mean, you had an impressive hard title run a couple months back. I think this Hart title run could possibly be more meaningful and more impactful because you've just made a significant character turn.
Thank you.
Makes sense. At the end of the day, though, this was a really good match for it to have an RL did a good job putting it together, and TK, man, what are you thinking about Mr. Excuse me, the nefarious one leaving New Heart Champion?
I'm all for it, man. I am all for it. Now, I don't know. Did anybody solve the puzzle?
Oh boy. No. Nobody did. Nobody ever has. But I
Okay.
will say, if anybody does, they have a guaranteed spot in Avalanche.
All right. Okay. That's
But only one person at this point. The ship for a lot of people is sailed.
fair enough. But So there's a thing for the podcast listeners. I wasn't sure. That's why I kind of paused so I could edit it out if I needed to. But
Bet.
it was a really great match. Edgar put in a lot of work. This thing's nice. How many matches did he write? Like 5?
I'm not sure.
I think he wrote like
Oh.
5 matches.
A
82.
lot.
82. This just in, he wrote all 82 matches of March Madness.
Yeah. TK, you have any more to add? Because I kind of wanted to throw something else in there.
Oh no, have at it.
Okay. What I'm seeing here, and what happened with this, and a couple weeks back I said that the Hart title was the working man's title. It was the championship for the person who doesn't have the time investment to make the storylines like a universal champion would. What Ned did was put in the time investment that a universal champion does for his title in a storyline for the Hart title, which I don't know that I've ever seen before. So this is, Ned, what you and RL did for the name of the Hart Championship, proud of you, Boyle. Proud of RL, as a former Hart. I'm sure anybody who's ever been a Hart champion is like, you know what? Awesome. You guys are carrying it on. You're making that belt awesome. Good job. That's the real trick to the Hart title. You got to hook people into watching for it. It can't just be. Nobody can call it the secondary title ever.
Thank you so much, man. That means a lot coming from you too, being a former Heartman yourself.
Betsy Granger, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh man, what a match. And what a story leading into it. It was one of the ones I'd been following closely because I would say, Ned, you're one of the ones I actually, like Ruby, followed about a year, maybe a year and a half before I was ever considered rejoining the XWF. And I would still read role plays from time to time. And whenever I'd see yours pop up on Twitter, I would give it a click. So I'm familiar with the story and the work going into it. So being here to watch it kind of unfold into what it's done has I was a little heartbroken at the heel turn because I'm like, oh my god, even him at 2. And then you come to your the champion or former champion RL, who when I learned that he was the same one who handled Dolly, I didn't know that at first, but she was another one I was familiar with coming into it. So I paid a little bit more attention after that. Admittedly, it takes a while. There's a lot of good writers. It takes a while to get caught up. But once I started getting into the flow of everything within the Fed, just the story you two told was phenomenal, and the match was really well handled. And just congratulations, you earned it, my nefarious one.
Thank you so much.
That actually, I have a question about that now too. But for Betsy, I just realized something. What's it like being the only babyface in the room right now?
Holy shit, dude. What a responsibility.
I know.
I got this shit, though. You know what? Let's do this.
We shall. We were going to roll right into our next championship matches for the Extreme title. It's Morbid Angel and it's Alias. Guys, this is one we all had our eyes on too. And at the end of the day here, Alias is going to pull this one out and he's going to retain the Extreme Championship. That said, TK, start with you on this one.
This was the match I was most looking forward to. Whole pay-per-view, other than my own shit, let's be fair. Everybody's always looking forward to their own shit. But this match in particular was my favorite. It was well written. They both put in great shit coming in. It was a fun read. I suggest that if you haven't, read it. Um, I'm going to shoot this over to Mr. Bourbon.
Love the match too. I picked wrong. Alias is great. Love his work. Love that finisher. Seeing that fatality gif also sells it. Like sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. Not often in the XWF though. In this case, that was just perfect. And just match was fun to read. Great time reading it. Again, had to pick. I picked Morbid. Just the same reason you picked Atara. Picked with my heart. And I say that also as a former Extreme champion. Now, quick before we go on to the rest of the match, go ahead and talk about the match. But Betsy, Ned, I don't know if you guys have ever held the X title. How would you go about challenging Alias?
I guess I'll go ahead and answer first. The simple answer would be you don't, but the actual answer, if you're asking me about strategy, it's tough. Realistically, you're talking about somebody who's very well rounded. If if I were to really hone in on trying to dethrone Mr. Alias here, who's having a damn good X title run, I would probably try and just tell a story that would thematically reflect towards some of the things that Alias has gone through. Really pay attention to a lot of his work during this Morbid Angel match, which I wasn't able to read a whole lot of just due to being busy, which I'm going to be reading after the show. But he would still give me a run for my money just in trash. I'm very certain. Betsy, what do you think?
I was actually leaning towards your initial answer of you don't. But similarly, as a strategy, like I said, trash talk is my weak point. So with someone like Alias, I could definitely weave a story around the character. And given the theme, like the God, I don't even know how to put this because Alias is just such a complexity to even a character like Betsy who loves solving riddles. And you know, obviously I've used the character in my work previously, and that's clearly going somewhere. But to challenge him to like consider that is a completely something I hadn't considered quite yet. So I'm not 100% prepared to answer this, but I think that's the best I could do is try to weave the promo into my story as I've done in the past and just kind of lob that ball out there and hope for the best.
It's Alias is three defenses in at this point. Picked him right, so goes to me. Yay. It sets the stage nicely for what I feel is probably one of the more competitive tag title matches that we've seen in a very long time. As the team of them no good bastards walked into a opportunity against Continuum, and this was a it's a Texas Tornado match. I want to kick this over to them no good bastards to Bobby Bourbon first. Congratulate you guys at the top of the program. You guys earned this one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was writing a pin against Alias.
Oh.
No, the match was awesome. I, I I like reading it. It was a lot of fun to read. RL did a wonderful job. Corey and Thad were awesome to read. Corey's third RP should be RP of the month, nominating it as RP of the month for March. I don't know if the thread's gone up yet or not. But nominating Corey's third for RP of the month, that was just, it was top notch Corey. But I don't know, it was a great, I had a good time playing against them. TK,
You know what? Going up against Thad and Corey, that's what you want, right? You guys, you want to go up against the best, and to say they aren't the best is not true. I had a lot of fun writing against them. I know they had fun. We had spoken, and they said they had fun. So, you know, I'm proud of this one. For all four of us, really.
oh yeah, and also in story now, TK and Bourbon didn't just beat Corey and Thad. Doc
No.
did show up in the match.
What, did he
And-
really?
Yeah, Sin Magic.
Huh. That's crazy. So all three Continuum couldn't stop them no good bastards?
All three Continuum couldn't stop them. No good bastards.
There was a
That
high
took
five.
challengers. Jinx.
Are we through putting ourselves over?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it.
No.
Okay.
We have one more.
No, it's
thing.
not.
Robbie says there's more.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's more. I was going. Thank you.
All bullshit aside, this I've talked about it privately with a lot of you guys and within the Fed and some folks behind the scenes. The tag division's always been lacking here. And when we had Robert on earlier, we were talking about how really and truly, it may have been even been off air. I don't remember. At this point, we're like 4.5 hours deep into this motherfucker. We were discussing how the last really good tag match was Doc and Thad versus Cataclysm, and then the last really good one before that was Sick Cunts versus Cataclysm. So I say that to say you have. Well, we had a really good one at Snow Job too. So I don't want to look past that one because that was nothing to sneeze at neither. Over the course of the last 3 pay-per-views, there's been 3 really, really, really good quality tag matches. And if you're trying to set a division on fire, and you're trying to build a division, this is the kind of match that you do it with. And like I was saying earlier, it's a matter of what do we do as a Fed to keep the momentum going, because both of the teams delivered, and we all knew going in that they would. That's not a huge knock or a huge afterthought by any means, because these guys are top notch fucking writers, and it really blew the doors off, and was probably, in my opinion, was probably match of the night. Just off of the role plays, not excluding any of the March Madness stuff. I'm talking about the core pay-per-view itself. Was match of the night. There's no doubt about it. Betsy, let me get your take on it.
I always love seeing a tag team division flourish because I think this is a problem in just about any Fed you go to. And I've seen several try to do trios Feds as well. You just don't get enough teams and you don't get to see a good run. And since I've been here, it's pretty much been all about them no good bastards and Continuum. And admittedly, the only one I really knew about before was Thad. So getting to discover all these characters embroiled in this rivalry was really fun. And then getting the opportunity to face them no good bastards at one point was an absolute blast. And it's nice to say I have a win over them new tag team champions. So you guys might want to watch your backs too. But on a serious note, guys, I called you guys and you earned it. Congratulations. It's awesome. You guys are awesome.
Well, you and Atara can still enter tag team turmoil.
Don't snicker. Do it. The Professor, Ned K, where are you at with this tag title championship match?
Ned K, the Mike Tenay.
There you go. Oh, yes.
I obviously really, really enjoyed it. There's something to be said about the story that was told in the actual match as it was written. Shout out to the match writer. Like I just love the combination of these two teams that are essentially just powerhouses, and this is where they collide. This is the train wreck of just pure force versus pure skill. You've got the young and the versatile Thaddeus Duke and Corey Smith, and they come out, but they have to contend against them no good dirty son of a bitch goddamn bastard. So you got to give both teams a lot of credit for their actual onboard RP work. They came into it knowing what they wanted to do, knowing what kinds of stories they wanted to tell. The TV parodies, I honestly think, are going to go down as some of the funniest classic RPs of all time. I just love the fact that this did feel like the match of the night to me. Like in both the writing and the RPs, I agree with you, Chris. This was the highlight, and I'm of the firm opinion right now that if your tag division is booming, your Fed is booming. So thank all four of you, gentlemen. I appreciate everything you.
And I mean, the hits just keep on coming. We've had Robert Maine. We got Betsy Granger. We've got nefarious Ned. Joining us now to kind of give some comments here. We have Continuum, the team of Thad and Corey Smith. Guys, we are just talking about your tag match at March Madness, and I want to get your takes on it. First of all, thank both of you for kind of popping in and right time, right place, basically.
You are quite welcome.
Yeah, what he said.
Let's hear it, guys. I mean, I don't know what you guys what you heard or what you didn't hear. We were talking about when we were talking about the tag match. I talked about how great it was to have like this is the third consecutive pay-per-view. There's been a really solid tag team attraction for the belts, and you guys and them no good bastards stole the fucking show.
5-star match. I loved it.
Pretty much.
I agree.
Well, I mean, you got
extra hands, and I jerked all four of us off.
You
It
did.
was beautiful.
I mean, as long as the money shots were all right, I guess that's cool.
One got stuck to my hand.
Let's get into it for a second. Like, you guys have worked with each other for basically the first 2 or 3 months of the year. I mean, I hope this isn't the blow off because all four of you fucking. I mean, we knew what we were expecting when we walked into it, but I really think it exceeded the expectations.
I mean, I would always be down to do it again. I was kind of thinking I was gonna take Corey back into like a singles direction for a little bit. But I can't say no to a rematch down the line. I just can't.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same way. Like I've always thought, like once you win or lose a title, it's kind of step back a little bit and let someone else have a turn and go from there.
I think I don't know if at least since my this run, I don't think there's been a tag team like a legit tag team feud, and I don't. There's very few people who could pull it off and make it mean something. But based off of what we saw for uh, March Madness, Continuum, and then No Good Bastards, like that's it. It has to happen again. Has to, because the potential for my outsider's perception, the potential of a credible story that can be told, given a build and as a bigger build than what we got here. Because basically, we found out about this match. We kind of knew or had expectations going into that last warfare, but you didn't really know until the results went up. To get like a solid story where you have a full cycle to build it would be those two specific teams to me is almost enough to give me a wet dream.
And Chris grew 2 extra hands and jerked off 4 of the sauce.
I'm just stating the facts. I mean, you guys showed up and delivered.
Well,
I'm wondering what it'll take. I want that. I want that to like main event a pay-per-view card. That's what I want.
It totally could. It totally could.
I'm gonna float this out there.
What's it gonna take to do that, though?
I'm gonna float this out there. What I want to do for Relentless is them No Good Bastards. I don't know who our opponents are, but them No Good Bastards are gonna go best 2 out of 3 falls. First fall is the first night. Second fall is the second night, and if we need a third fall, we go to the third night.
I would 100% be down with that.
That sounds pretty good. But what are we doing? When is that show supposed to roll around again? I don't remember.
September.
What's that?
September.
September.
Oh, September. Okay.
It'd be September. I mean, we did a November pay-per-view, so minus 2 months. That gives you September.
Like 6 months. Yeah.
Well, we got Betsy here. Betsy, like, what were your thoughts? You got Continuum right here. You got No Good Bastards right here. Let's pick their brains a little bit.
I mean, it's a fangirl's dream, isn't it? 2 of the hottest tag teams in the division, and it's only heating up. You guys are all phenomenal, and you've really brought something special to a division that's really kind of regarded as the redheaded stepchild of any federation, whether it's EFED or not. So,
I
congratulations
said the exact same
on.
thing. I said that exact same thing on the other show I was on.
But you're right, it is, and it's just you guys have brought the tag team division into a light that it hasn't seen in such a long time, and I hope that momentum doesn't go away because there are other tag teams coming. I know for a fact there are other tag teams that are possibly in cahoots, and I'd like to see if any of those take off. I'd like to see the interactions with them No Good Bastards and Continuum, and I just keep it going, keep the tag team division lit, because you guys are you're phenomenal and you're beasts, and I'm a fan.
I think we're crushing Ned on his first night on the podcast. Ned, do you want to follow up with anything with Continuum and the No Good Bastards?
Well, I would like to ask just kind of an open question first to Continuum, and they can choose how to respond, and then to them No Good Bastards. But I would like to know why, what is very appealing about the tag team division beyond just collaboration? Like obviously that's the main appeal, but there has to be something a little more to that. And while I know things that personally appeal to me, I would love to hear what parts of that process appeal most to you two.
I mean, speaking for myself, part of the appeal was just to kind of give it some light. I mean, because I think so often it's like there's like one main team that no pun intended, that is just like the guys for like months and months on end, and then it's kind of well, shrug, an afterthought. I would like to see that get more heat. And I think that was part of the appeal for me, was to put more focus on it.
And that
Stand by real quick, because ladies and gentlemen, impromptu, as this is a very special impromptu running. The third member of Continuum, first time on the podcast, the King Doc. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, sir. Thank you.
You've asked for some time, and I yield it to the King.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really liked Ned's question there, and I couldn't not have an answer for it. I didn't mean to cut off my boys there, Continuum, but aside from like the collab, I feel that like there's been times, I've been in the Fed for a long time, 2014, and everybody hits a rough spot. Everybody gets to a point with their character where they're like, man, I can't think of another story. I'm running dry. Is this it? Should I go a different direction? Should I have a gimmick change? Should I just change my character altogether? Teaming with someone, even if they have nothing to do with you, even if you're bipolar, complete opposites, helps the writing process so much and opens so many different doors and windows and gives you so many more ideas that you feel you can just go on for years beyond. And I've worked with several teams in the past. I've worked with Unknown Soldier. I've worked with Theo Price, of course, with Continuum here. Thad and Corey, and all of those different teams. Obviously, if you know them at all, are completely different and pretty different from my Doc character. And it's just opened so many doors for me, and I've been able to create so many different stories. And it just interacting with the different characters is just so fulfilling, and it just adds just so much. You add more story, you want to add just more depth to your character. I want to just suggest, if you feel you're at a hard spot, find someone to work with, even if it's just for a little while. And the way you pick each other's brains per cycle, leading into a match, and the way you come together, and if you want to collab, it's just a great opportunity to expand your character. The King has spoken.
I'll drink to that.
Well spoken.
That
See, this is why I have smart tag team partners, because I honestly couldn't have said anything better than they did already.
them no good bastards. Do you want to get in on this action? What do you think?
Me personally, I think it's really a way to refresh your character, even when you're not trying to refresh your character. When Cataclysm was together and we were collectively pulled out of anything that was like kind of singles oriented, unless it was like a spot show here or a spot show there. Then when you break apart from each other, it's almost like I don't know, maybe I'm looking at this from a completely different perspective, but it's almost like you've kind of, like a snake has shed its skin. You're coming out a different person, out of character. What I get out of it, and I don't know, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, because we've all collabed in some form or fashion. It's not necessarily collaborating with somebody. It's when you work with a different person, you kind of have to adapt to a style, and that style may not be your style. So, and I guess that may have been something of what Doc was saying. You if you do it correctly, you come out as a better writer in the end.
That's that's a lot. That's very accurate. I'll take a step forward. I believe the main reason for that, at least in my case, can you hear me?
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry. To me, it's I have a second voice that tells me when my shit sucks. So I know full well if I write shit that sucks, and then I'm like present it to TK, I'm gonna get a reaction like that shit sucks, and I'll know it sucks. So I know I'm gonna rework it, fix it, make it better, hone it. And it's like I have my own little test audience, and I got to write something, and I know if I can get TK to like it, then it's probably good. So it's going to be better. So it's not just the collabing; it's the second opinion, the ability to check yourself, to find those flaws in your writing and what you're doing and your tone and your pacing, and just the story progression itself, the way that your smack talk sounds, because smack talk, good smack talk you're telling a story. Your character is directly addressing the camera, telling a tale. I think everybody in this room would agree to that. That's a big part of it. When people say you're a good storyteller, it's not just can you script something, it's also can you bring that inflection and make your character like believable that they're saying this and making these statements. So it all ties in together that way. And just having somebody that helps refine the process for me has been a huge help. Because now I'm not posting. I feel I'm a little more sharp, and my stuff comes out a lot more crisp now, just because I have a partner to help me out. So TK is the reason we won the tag belts, and kudos to Thad and to Corey and to Doc. That was hella fun.
Was it's definitely a huge step in the right direction, and the division itself can only go up from here. I do hope that Continuum gets back into the mix, because I think that there's more that can be told there story wise. I also understand if they want to kind of focus on singles action as well. Uh, Either which way, the winners here were all of us, because we got to read the work, and we got to get a tremendous match that was put out, that the time and effort was put into, and I just can't wait to see what happens next. Moving on from there, we're
Chris,
that.
if I
Go
may,
ahead.
I just want to say this again. Can't understate this. And like, if you want a money match, you book Bourbon versus Corey. Like, that's just how it is. Like, that dude is so money to work against. Like, I can work with him all day. So again, just strong work to Corey. You're right behind TK in terms of my favorite people in the Fed that I like to read. So that's sorry. And also Thad. It's money matches every time with him. Easy.
Yeah, he Thad learned that from me. I'm just playing. Just kidding.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Oh, so that's because I know he's fucking listening. Um, we move into the finals of the March Madness tournament. Your second chance battle royal winner, Demos. You've got Sean Warstein. You've got Doc DeVille. Triple threat action. I wrote the match. I don't have to get into. I know the pacing of it. I know the whole deal. Let me go to Betsy Granger first. When we get to this triple threat, once we got through the semifinals, we knew what we were going to see. What was your head at? What were you thinking?
Oh man, by the time we got to that, it was just literally to a point of anything could happen. In my heart, I kind of knew Doc had it clinched. As good as Demos and Sean both were in this cycle, Doc just had a fire lit under him, and he ran with it. And the match itself was epic, and I think there's a lot of strings that were left open that could definitely be explored down the line, and I hope that they are. So again, congratulations to Doc, and congratulations to everyone in the tournament, because everyone really put the work into it and made it what it was, and it's one for the history books. So yeah.
Mr. Bourbon.
It was huge. Huge. That's the easy way to put it. I mean, I'm not surprised Demos made it to the finals. He did put in a hell of effort there. Like he did great work for the pay-per-view. against Mr. Ding. I'm just gonna call him Dingaling, because yeah, Sean Warstein, Dingaling, versus Dr. Ville. Hell of a match, brutal match, three-way match. All three guys were just busted up throughout all the night. Except Doc just has that nitrous oxide booster inside of him that just shoots him forward towards the end every time. It always ends the same way. 8 letters. Lobotomy. Oh my, lobotomy. It's the best move in the XWF right now. People don't kick out of it. So
The only thing that I regretted about with writing this match is because it's a same day turnaround. It's one thing I told both Theo and Vinny, that I wish I had more time with it, because I could have given it so much more if it would have worked out and panned out correctly. Because I do think that all three of these guys warranted a very a solid finals, because all three of them at the end of the day busted their ass through 32 people to get here.
oh, you wrote a phenomenal match. The match itself is a great read. But
I was
ultimately,
bummed
Doc-
with it.
I
I just
like
felt
it.
like
I mean, if you want to say there's more, just like added in post credits.
I could probably do that and make that happen. Okay, what are you at with it?
You know, we saw it coming from a mile away. I'm pretty sure that everybody thought Doc was going to win it. And now it's King Doctor. King Doctor? Dr. King? No. Louis
Dr.
DeVille.
King is somebody else.
Yeah, Dr. King is somebody else entirely.
Dr. DeVille, if we're going to be proper about it, but if he's going by King Doc, so
Yeah.
it'll work. He called it. Well, there we go.
Second, and something that we're kind of glossing over here is this is his second
Yeah.
March Madness tournament win.
Hey,
You can't turn our heads at that.
Once a king, always a king. That's the way Doc sees it, right? So,
But even he'll tell you he didn't cruise in there.
nah, yeah.
He had to work at it just like everybody else does. And that's the thing. It isn't like it's effortless for Doc. He puts in the work just like everybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's putting in a little more. Who knows?
Maybe
Betsy
he's
Granger.
giving
Sorry, go ahead,
100.
Tiggy, I'm sorry.
Maybe he's giving 110%.
That's distinctly possible, but impossible. So it's improbable. Probably.
110.3%.
957,362.815%.
I'll take
You
it.
know, Doc's been putting in a lot of good work lately.
Yeah. Betsy Granger, what are your thoughts with Mr. Doc taking the entire tournament?
It was to be expected, and he's gonna run with it well. And if Sean sticks around, I'm interested to see the interaction, because I don't know if anybody follows what he's doing in Project Honor right now, but he recently won something over there where he's known as the Tyrant. So having the one-on-one matchup of the King of the XWF versus the Tyrant that could be something. So I'm throwing that out there, and I know you guys are both listening, so think about it. Think about it.
Professor Ned K.
All right. So firstly, I want to say, if you really want to George Lucas it, Paige, go ahead. But I don't think you. I think the limitations that you had during the match, or writing the match, I should say, added to it. I really do. I think it's a fine match on its own. I think it's a wonderful. Let's think about how these men got here. I'm not going to go too into detail because I don't want to bore Paige with the pacing of his own match, but Doc defeated Deimos to get here to begin with. And Deimos had his eyes on vengeance, on coming back to beat Doc in the final. And he gets so close. Sean is expected to be there. Sean, much like Doc, is a favorite to win the entire thing. Will Sean be able to, have that big, no pun intended, legacy moment at March Madness? Will Deimos be able to redeem himself? These are the questions that you ask reading this thing live. And of course, we all know the answer is no. Doc is able to just capitalize at the very end, beat Deimos down again, and get the pin and make XWF history. I have zero doubts that this is going to be one of those pay-per-views and one of these moments that is going to just stretch out into a bunch of wonderful storylines. I am so excited to see what comes of this. And I don't know what else to add. I'm just kind of over the moon about it.
I mean, it's a big accomplishment. And the sky is only the limit with what King Doc is going to do. And I guess really and truly, the only way we're going to find that out is tune into programming in the next couple of weeks and see where he takes it and where he goes. This was a fantastic tournament from start to finish. In my opinion, we got a chance to see some great matches. First, second, third. I mean, first, second, all the way up to the finals, from beginning to end. I think that a lot of characters developed out of this, which is ultimately what anybody wants when you do a tournament of this size. Um, it made some players, and it elevated plenty of characters if they take the direction of maybe their exit or their when they were eliminated versus how far they made it versus who beat them. There's a lot of stuff that can happen here, character development wise. So I think it's a beautiful thing. I think we're sitting in a real pretty spot as a Fed, and having King Doc reigning over us at this point is just it's almost like a little ray of sunlight. We roll into the next segment. Betsy, we'll let you talk about this one because we touched on it earlier. But when I finished this, I had Johnny Cash's "Ring of Fire" playing in my head.
Excellent.
Is that what you were going for?
A little bit actually. I was inspired by the song because it had actually come on the radio the night I started writing that. So funny enough, I always hear questions about being inspired in music. I can't write with music on, but I get inspired by songs all the time, and I can base stuff around it. So this segment in particular, obviously the build up has been, a long time coming. Betsy and RMI and anybody who's gone up against the left hand, has taken their fair share of licks, some more than others. And the segment leading on the go home show, I don't remember which one right now, but when the Baphomet makes the video calling out Legacy and telling Betsy he can see her in his dreams, and clearly she's rattled because this is the most we've seen her in action on a show since she's been here. So the segment at the end is a culmination of something that is growing in the works, uh, with a little mixture of Betsy's just had enough. He's up to fucking here with the left hand, and she's like, you know what? I'm tired of seeing these people bully the people I like, but now they want to threaten the people I love. Okay, the gloves are coming off now. You want to fuck with my dark side? Here you go. And this is just the beginning. Like, there's a reason I have Betsy billed as a chaotic face, and the left hand is going to you're going to start seeing more of it. And it's just, there's a lot of Betsy left to unfold, and this segment's just the tip of the iceberg for that. So
You
Do you
get it,
think they bit
girl.
off a little? You think they bit off a bit off more than you?
yeah.
Love you for that.
No, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna get real ugly before it ends, and you never know what the future holds. So
I'm gonna go ahead.
it's
I'm gonna
just
go ahead and pop my popcorn now. Then
you better sit back and get ready, honey, because it's gonna be a show.
I need to put my feet up.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm sold.
Go ahead and jump into this main event of March Madness. This was something that Rob, you and I have been working on this for 2.5 years, just to kind of get to this point. Now there was a lot of bobbing and weaving to get to that, to get here, and while we're covering the show, we're not there yet. We're close. Till we get into the main event, the first piece of business I want to talk about is the reveal of Anarchy being of Drew Archow.
Right.
And
Yep.
I hope I pronounced the last name correctly. There, you get that, and let me throw it. I'm gonna throw it to Ned, since Ned, you're your first co-hosting gig on the podcast with us, man. I want to throw to you first for the main event, because Bobby and TK and I, and obviously Rob, we've all kind of discussed this over the last cycle. You're kind of a fresh voice to the story, so you take us through the main event of March Madness, and in your thought process as you were going through the match.
Okay. A lot of pressure. All right. So when the match, first starts up, and you have that great build in where it's just building, it's building. You're wondering, who is Anarchy? Who is coming here to tell off Paige? And you get the reveal that when Thunder Knuckles cracked Robert in the skull, Paige was right in the wings, just staring right at it, smiling, just as planned. Paige gets to be just the most despicable son of a bitch. Like, no, I didn't do anything. You don't understand. Right as the mask gets pulled off, and you get the return of the presumably lost at sea Drew Archill. And then the match begins, and that it was something else to read live, for the first time. And as the match begins, you just get this wonderful striking match between the two. The double leg takedown. Oh my god. I'm gonna try not play by play. But you get a good fight from each of them on both ends. You're just going back and forth. You've got the eye poke here and there. Oh, Paige is trying to do whatever he can to just kind of control the pure anger of Drew Archill as he's in this frenzy, just trying to avenge his friend, presumably. And, especially after that in-bell salute at the beginning of the show, you just get this intense feeling of Drew wants Paige and his legacy and his title to burn and to break. And then you get the wonderful glass table spot as Drew starts to get back. And then the reveal that the Paige and Bob distrust never existed. They were always on the same page. No pun intended. You get Terry Borden and Clint Fatwood going out there, including Herschel Kiss and Oswald, just storming the ring. Oh, and I'm sorry. It's a lot. Bob goes out to the ringside area. They just completely decimate Drew, and it's over. And then in the post-match segment, we get to know that Andre Dixon is coming out there, to protect Drew Argyle, the only person who would come and help him. And he turns on him. He just beats the shit out of Drew. Oh, joins with Bob. And then the big reveal that Robert Maine is alive. God, I squeed when I saw that. It was something else. And of course,
TK. I'm sorry, finish up, man. My fault. Go ahead.
yeah, and of course you end off the show with that wonderful stare down between these two longtime rivals. Robert goes to check on his father. Ooh. All right, I'm good. Sorry.
No, man. I wanted to hear your perception, man. That was rock solid. TK, man, and then we'll go to Bobby, and then Rob will come to you. The whole deal, Ned just kind of described it all. Like, let's see your take on it, and how did you think the overall product came out at the end? Because ultimately, that's what matters.
I think the product came out well. Ned, bravo, sir. You're made for this. You really are. All right. I liked everything that happened. The reveal of Dixon joining Bob. That was good stuff. The reveal of Rob coming back. That's really good. Just all around, I thought it was great. Whoever wrote that match did a great job. Yeah, that's all I got. Bobby, take it from me.
Well, all I got to say is this, gentleman, is you set up a lot with this. This was, again, phenomenal setup. It's on y'all to follow through, and I have every ounce of faith that you guys are going to do that. I look forward to it. I think I'm not the only one. This is A1 storytelling. It's up there. It reminds me of like old school WCW. Where if the show ends on that, it's on a cliffhanger. It's still unresolved conflict. We still need to get there. We're still going there. We're in a direction, and it translates just. I've been watching wrestling. I think a lot of us have been watching wrestling for the better part of our lives, and it just read like something that I expect to see on a good wrestling show. And just kudos all around. I know I was a bit player in it, but in this storyline, I'm really just a pawn, and I have no problem being a pawn in a story this good. If you want any more, like, if you want me to do more for the story, I'll be more than happy to. But I'm also a goofy bastard, so I'll probably like all of a sudden start eating sand and telling everybody it's cotton candy. Who knows? So, again, good job.
Betsy, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, it took me a little while to get caught up with the entire story because I was, absent for so long from e-fetting. But once I was there and being able to go into these role plays and this just body of work that just is so expansive, it was worth going back to do the digging on the story because I messaged you a few times, like, is it this person? Is that a red herring or is that a clue? Is it this? Is it that? And the match itself was phenomenal. Uh, the whole clusterfuck that happened leading to the pinfall just kind of it hurt a couple times because there was some Andre Dixon, man. I wondered why he was there. Like, what's he got to do with anything? But
Did
again,
you like?
he's so
Did you like that? Did you like that tie-in?
yeah. I was like, God damn. It just, finding out that Robert Maine's alive, I was like, oh, well, this is gonna okay. Where's this going now? Because this is going to get fun.
It was
Everything's about to get crazy.
This now, I mean, it comes over to you, Mr. Main. You know, I think in order for us for the listeners to really understand just kind of how big this is and how big the return is we kind of have to pull that curtain back a little bit because you were originally scheduled to challenge for the championship at Snow Job. You had some stuff come up that you know I'm not going to get into it. It's not my business to tell. That took you away for the better part of 2.5, almost 3 months. Um, when you got in touch with me and said that you were good to go, um, we were coming up on March Madness, and we started kicking this idea around. So we conceptualized this thing together. And how did you see and how did you view the finished product? And TK, I think you're well aware I wrote that match. Um,
I just didn't want to say your
you,
name.
yeah, I know it's okay. Uh, so take it, Rob, man. Like let's talk about it.
Yes. So the when let me go back to why I had to leave, and I'll fully disclose why I had to leave for a little while. I have no problem with that. I'm never going to lie to anybody. And so back when we was defending against who was it, Doc and Thad, the second weekend I got really sick, and I'm going, okay, something's not right. I got COVID-19. Um, I talked to you several times on the phone. I was trying to role play through all that. Got to the point where I had to go to the hospital. I was done. And it took me almost 2 months to kind of recover. I mean, through March, I still kind of had the little bit of chest problems, but I was really, really, really sick and sick to the point where my family thought, hey, is he going to make it through this? So, and congratulations to Doc and Thad. And I mean, they deserved it. What they did was great. But that's the full disclosure on where I've been and why. Now, pay per view. Um, Main event was beautifully written, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off what Ned said. You get that roller coaster from the beginning. Paige's dramatic entrance with the choir and walking to the ring, and Robert's parents are there, and you get the sense that Paige wants to do this, to defend Robert's family. And there's tons of side stories here. You got Oliver Maine, Robert's brother, who Paige had locked up, and you got Robert's dad, mom, and sister. Drew and Robert's sister are, how would you say, banging, I guess. um, and then you go through the match, and the match is amazingly written. It has the old, Chris Jericho when he beat Stone Cold and Rock in the same night. It seemed like every match he would find a way out of it, and it was almost a little bit of Ric Flair in there too. This isn't me, backing away, trying to get away from Drew, and it's built really well. And then the end, like always, the numbers you succumb to numbers, and Drew succumbs to those numbers. And all of Bob, there's side stories with all of Bob that's going to be, eventually come to light. There's going to be people that has to pay for their crimes, and I really hope that people read the body of work. You know, Going back through your promos page, everything, because there's Easter eggs everywhere. If you pay attention close, The pay-per-view being in Las Vegas, that's Robert's hometown. There was stuff laced in. If you were really keen and you really looked, you could have figured it out.
And I assure you, if you did not figure it out, we're definitely going to point it out as we continue the story. And I know that there's probably a lot of people out there who did assume that it was you. And, my job going into this was to cast as much doubt as I could. When I wrote the match itself, I mean, I appreciate the reception that it got, but I wrote it in a very psychological kind of way where CCP was, for all extensive purposes, he was running from Drew. He was not trying to fight him. Because he was trying to convince Drew that he didn't do. He's still selling that he's innocent all the way up to the very end. And another little nuance that I put in there is this was a no holds barred match. There's only one pinfall, one pin attempt throughout the entire match. Because in Drew's eyes, this isn't about winning. He knew what the fuck is going on, and this was about kicking the shit out of Chris Page. And essentially, that's what he did. Right or wrong?
No, and it had to be Drew. Drew was the closest person to Robert. Now, I would have loved, and Vinny brought it up, if it was Jim Cadis, but that
He
didn't
was
play through.
he was guessed. There were a lot of guesses out there, and I guess like now would be as good a time as any. So there was one person who guessed the Anarchy correctly. Yes, that was Corey Smith. Yes, I did sell it and spin it and try and cast not judgment, but cast doubt that it was Drew. I was doing my job. This was on a podcast, so when he dropped Drew's name, I immediately my heart sunk, and I was, how do I get out of this? And I just started talking.
Sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you got to do, man. If you can sucker all the readers, man, then you're doing your job correctly. This story sets the table for a lot to come. Um, I make no mistake about it. I look at you as family. I think over the last couple of years we've gotten really close. Just working together through this angle and seeing it all the way through, and thus far it has been nothing more than an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's the same with me. And a lot of people, this is the first time anybody's ever even heard my voice, let alone I chat with very few people, and it's not that I want that. I mean, if you want to work with me, or you have an idea, or you need help, or you just want to run something by me, by all means, hit me on Discord. You can PM me, and I will get back with you. I will work with you. You know, whatever anybody wants to do, I am fully 100% ready to help someone get a rub or get them over, help them with their writing if I can. And this story, that's the beauty of the story. We got a lot of things coming up, and there's going to be several side stories involving lots of different characters throughout the Fed. And all it's going to do is enhance these people and enhance their stories. And they're going to be able to tell side stories, and it's just going to be a nice revolving thing. Now, if someone don't want to be a part of that, that's totally fine too. That's their choice. But I believe for the most part, most people is going to want to, kind of get in on it and see where we can go. And I know you, Paige, you don't mind helping people out and getting them over, and same with me. So I'm excited to continue the story and let people see the full body of work over the past 2 years, because there's been a lot of work behind the scenes that people just don't see. They see the role plays. They're not in on the long conversations, through text or on the phone. and that's the hard part about it when you collaborate with somebody or you try to work a really good angle with somebody. It's the time no one sees.
It is time consuming for sure. But when the story's right, it's right. You don't if what I feel like what we're doing here is going to be very beneficial. I was chatting with some folks last night on Discord, and one of the things that I had said was what based off of this angle that we're going to finish finally. We're not while we're a focal point, we're the focal point right now. The beauty of this angle is not us. It's what's going to happen with I would say, anywhere between 10 to 12 characters that are a part of this with us. And when we get there, it's not about making main eventers right now. We're making main eventers for next year, and
Absolutely.
the years after. And I mean, if people stick with it. Now, again, you and I both know, and everybody on the show knows, angles are only as good as much as you invest yourself in them.
Right.
If you're not going to invest, then no, the story's going to suck. But I think that the people that have already signed on to tell this story with us are very invested in it, which only makes it, to me personally, only makes it that much more gratifying knowing that when it's done, not only did we get to tell a really good story, but we've now been able to use this story to catapult up um, you know, whoever's, well, I'm not going to spoil any names, but catapult up a plethora of talent for other people to, potential universal talent championship challengers for later on in the year or next year. It's just it's very very exciting to know that like we're kind of this little blasting cap to it. There's so much more for so many people, and so many people are going to end up better on the other end.
Right. We kind of rolled the grenade out there. We pulled the pin and rolled the grenade out there. Once the grenade goes off, shrapnel's going to hit lots of people and they're going to be involved. Now, that's not saying that the whole Fed has to revolve around this. Other people have their own stories, and I understand that. And I love reading other people's stuff, but I think once this starts expanding outward, there's going to be a lot of people going to go, maybe we should get on in on this, and whatever fashion that you would like to get in on it, that's totally your choice. But for those of you listening right now, it's only Drew and we might need some help.
Oh, I guarantee you're gonna need some help, motherfucker. I have a goddamn football team. I got the goddamn world tag team champions, some no good bastards right here. I got Miss Fury. I have Andre Dixon. I have a plethora of motherfuckers that are just waiting to crack that walnut brain of yours.
Well, you tried once, you swung and you missed.
Yeah, just do it again, TK. Oh man, this has been fun. We end an incredible night of XWF action pay-per-view. 18 matches from top to bottom. New champions crowned. A new king has arisen in the XWF and Doc. Um, a lot going on moving forward and into our leap of faith cycle, which what's going to happen. We don't know. We know that we're apparently all bound to a trip to the moon. I think everyone listening to us on this episode is about tired. It's probably 4 hours deep at this point. Guys and gals, we've had an incredible evening like covering March Madness. A plethora of guests have stopped by. I want to say thank you to Betsy Granger. I want to say thank you to Ned K. I want to say thank you to my co-host, Bobby Bourbon, Thunder Knuckles, and a very special thank you, Rob. I look at you as one of my best friends, dude. Let's light this shit up and do what we do.
We always do. We just Ready to roll.
That will draw us to a conclusion for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of all of us here on the XWF podcast, man, thanks for tuning in. You guys have a great night.
Oh, and Vinny, play us out. This home, Vinny.
All right, guys. Well, once again, for today and forever, as always, fuck you, Ghost Tank.
Thanks for listening to the XWF podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the XWF YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at XWF1999. And don't forget to check us out at XWF99.com. Be sure to join us next time where the action never slows down.